Scott Pataski wrote this note to 6 of us in 2014 and said, damn it, if we don't change, we're going to be changed around us and we'll be changed out. John Boudreau picked it up, 6 of us met. We launched this idea, we met at Juniper, talking about what are the things we could and should do and what skin in the game would we put in to help. So it's great to have a conceptual idea of how the future is going to change. It's great to have kind of an understanding of where human capabilities, human resources, human capital is today. So what? What do we do about it? Where do we go? How do we link these two and give people practical things that they can actually implement? So the question was, what's the social and org reconfiguration? This is the whole idea about the changes in work. Anywhere, anytime, global and virtual. So one of our colleagues, John Boudreau, Professor Boudreau from the University of Southern California, just finished his book about a year ago called Lead the Work. And the whole principle is that this will be one of the most major changes. What do we do about this future that's emerging with all these different aspects of social and org change, shifts globally, culture shifts, technology enablement, the balance of personalization and privacy. The one on here that's my favorite, though, is the hardest to do, and it's the sense-making. As a board director, you're looking at any entity and you're trying to figure out and make sense of what are the true essence of competitive advantage, what is the greatest risk to achieving that, what's my skill as an entity, as an organization, a collection of individuals and their skills, and then what could destroy that value at those big meta levels. And having a CEO or a chief risk officer, a CISO, or a CHRO be able to take all that complexity and have those big meta ideas is one of the hardest executive skills. New phrases like, who's the lead parent? Has anyone heard the latest phrase for work from home? Vermont came up with work in place. They said we don't want to be called contractors, freelancers, 1099ers. We think the idea of shelter in place says that you want to be where you're going to be safest. Work in place is this is where I choose to be, and I'm going to work from this as my home anchor. It's a strong psychological indicator to how people are thinking about themselves as individuals and what they want to represent. This idea of a talent platform, and they're still working on the words contract manager. There needs to be a better word for that. But this idea of fairness, that if you give your IP, that you receive value back. There's a lot out there about people sacrificing and going without salaries and having equity or share of a company. Well, what are the new rules about intellectual property? Who owns the algorithm? If it's co-developed, I'm working with Cornell on the idea of technology transfer and what comes out of the Cornell labs versus Stanford labs. Stanford, I think, is #1 in the world in tech transfer. Well, Cornell's now partnered with Israel on their new Technion. How does that work on patents? And if you think labor laws were built a long time ago, patent laws are changing on what is digital intellectual property and what is % ownership and how does that work. In the new world, we're talking about a culture advocate or brand builder, unlocking employees, transparency, authenticity, owning the reality that not everything's going to go right. How are you going to deal with that, right? For any global brand, that's a reality. The idea that you're connecting people, particularly if they're virtual and it's not a wealth transfer basic salary. Some of the top coding and the hacker rank and the way that people participate in problem solving, right? The idea of having that prestige that I am a top coder that then gets me business, right? A certification. Gaming is a great example of demonstrating certain skill levels that show that I'm connected to something I care deeply about and I get to bring that into the work world. In tomorrow's terminology, again, pick your year, we're looking at anticipatory. That's part of the reason I asked Matt to be here. is I was working on some of this in my other organizations, and how do you teach people the cognitive ability to not see what is, but to see what could be? And that's what we're getting at in this first one is don't tell me what's happening now, that's backward looking, can give me some sense of potential scenarios for the future, trends, demographics, shifts,